Welcome back to Bombastic Nation and Ting and Ting and Ting. Back with some more vibes for all you. I'm Mr. Giant, and we're doing the thing again. Thank you guys for coming forward. I don't know what the bumble clatter was doing there. I was doing something. But thank you guys for liking the video. Thank you for commenting. Keep commenting, suggesting videos I should watch. People suggest this for me. And here's how I'm going to do this. I put up one about Napoleon before, but they said it wasn't the beginning. And I can't find things that says episode 1, episode 2. So I'm going to go by the year. So I'm starting off with this one, Napoleon's masterpiece, Austerlitz, 1805. So I'm going to start with 1805 and I'll come up to like 1807, 1811, 1815. I'm going to just go from there. If there's one before that, let me know, comment down in the comment section. But I'm just going by what I see. So we started with 1805. Napoleon's masterpiece was 1805. I keep saying 1905, but it's 1805. Let's go ahead on YouTube and sim and see what my man Napoleon is up to.
An Epic History TV History March collaboration, supported by our sponsor, The Great Courses Plus.
Bring it!
In December 1804, in the Cathedral of Notre Dame in Paris, Napoleon Bonaparte crowned himself Emperor of the French. Europe had never seen such a sudden and dramatic rise to power. A son of impoverished Corsican nobility to military dictator of France in little more than 10 years. Revolution and war had cleared Napoleon's path to the throne. War would dominate his 10-year reign. A conflict unprecedented in history that would leave millions dead.
That's
and
cool.
The continent in turmoil.
That's cool, people. Napoleon Bonaparte, the Napoleonic Wars, Part 1. You see, it's just Part 1 there.
8 months after Napoleon's coronation, the French Empire and its Spanish ally were at war with Britain, and Napoleon had assembled an army of 180,000 men along the Channel coast. But as long as the British Royal Navy ruled the seas, invasion was impossible. But nor could Britain challenge France on land. And so British Prime Minister William Pitt tried to build a European coalition against Napoleon, using diplomacy and gold.
Coalition.
Britain would prove Napoleon's most steadfast enemy, and its press delighted in relentless mockery of the French Emperor. Britain and France were old rivals in Europe and overseas. But now, Pitt feared Napoleon's conquests had made France too powerful. The French Emperor had to be defeated, and Europe's balance.
Have you noticed that these people they get so powerful back then, and even now to a certain degree, that they have to have a coalition to stop them from getting more vicious. And it's crazy because it seems like a lot of them come from impoverished families. I mean, I come from the third world, and it's crazy there, but I still don't want to conquer anybody. It's unfathomable for me to think of conquering anybody. First of all, I don't want that responsibility. I want responsibility for all of that. I wouldn't mind having the responsibility to make people happy, but I cannot have that responsibility to send people off to war. Been there, done that. It ain't fun.
Balance of power restored, if there was ever to be lasting peace.
They keep saying
found willing allies in Europe.
They keep saying lasting.
Who despised Napoleon as a.
They keep saying lasting peace, but okay. People might call me that is wrong or blah 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 and all of that, but I don't think war brings peace. It brings resentment because people want to stay there and stew for years before they get violent and start doing stuff. It's kind of like poor people being oppressed so much that they, after years, they rise up. They have an uprising, a coup d'etat, a revolution. And that's the kind of stuff that brings dictators on. You know what I mean? Because people would stew for years, the struggles they have in and all that, and then boom, almost every revolution, especially the violent ones, that's just people angry for being oppressed or forgotten all these years.
product of the French Revolution and a dangerous threat to the existing order. Austria harboured the deepest grievances, having seen her influence in Germany and Italy steadily eroded by French victories. The final straw came in May 1804, when Napoleon had also crowned himself King of Italy in Milan. Austria, Russia, Sweden and Naples joined Britain in an alliance known as the Third Coalition, and devised an ambitious plan for a series of joint offensives against France. The main attack would be made by a combined Austro-Russian army, advancing across the Rhine into France. But Napoleon got word of their plans, and reacted with typical speed and decision. He was determined to strike first, before the Allies could join forces, and ordered his army, now renamed La Grande Armée, to march to the River Rhine. His target was the Austrian army of General Mack, which had made a premature advance against Bavaria, a French ally, and was now dangerously isolated from the other Allied armies.
Everybody wants to be a hero.
Napoleon ordered Marshal Murat, his famously flamboyant cavalry commander, to make feint attacks through the Black Forest, while the rest of his army, advancing at speed, enveloped Mack's army from the north. That summer, Napoleon's Grande Armée was at its most formidable. Well-trained, highly motivated, its regiments at full strength. What's more, it had been newly reorganized according to the corps system, later imitated by virtually every army in the world. Each corps, commanded by a marshal, was a mini-army of 15,000 to 30,000 soldiers, with its own infantry, cavalry, artillery and supporting arms, such as reconnaissance, engineers and transport. This meant each corps could march and fight for a limited time independently, allowing Napoleon to break with the old doctrine of keeping his army concentrated and advance with his corps widely dispersed. This helped to disguise his real objective and increased movement speed, because the army could advance along multiple roads and live off the land, taking its supplies from scattered villages, rather than relying on slow-moving supply wagons. When the enemy's main force was located, the army could quickly concentrate for battle. This is how Napoleon's army was able to move at a speed that often surprised and disorientated his enemies. Mack didn't realize the danger he was in until it was too late. Napoleon's fast-moving corps crossed the Danube behind him and surrounded his army.
Oh man, he's done for.
Mack launched a series of poorly coordinated counterattacks, but despite some desperate fighting, the Austrians couldn't break out of the trap. Mack hoped that Kutuzov's Russian army could arrive in time to save him, but the Russians were still 160 miles away.
And they ain't got them
And
speed
so,
things.
at Ulm, on the 19th of October, just 6 weeks into the war, Mack surrendered his army to Napoleon. The French took nearly 60,000 Austrian prisoners, and Napoleon had struck his first devastating blow against the coalition. Russian General Mikhail Kutuzov was an experienced and wary commander, more cautious than Mack. His army was exhausted after its 900-mile march from Russia, but hearing of the Austrians' surrender at Ulm, and knowing he wasn't strong enough to face Napoleon alone, he immediately ordered a retreat. Napoleon pursued. The Russians fought several sharp rearguard actions, but could not save the Austrian capital, Vienna, which the French occupied on the 12th of October. Kutuzov slipped away to Olmütz in today's Czech Republic, where he was joined by reinforcements, as well as Emperor Alexander of Russia and Emperor Francis of Austria in person.
All the leaders upon the scene,
Napoleon
boy.
was furious that Kutuzov had escaped. By now his army was also exhausted and far from home, with winter approaching. He needed to force a decisive battle quickly. Fortunately for him, the overconfident 27-year-old Russian emperor sought the glory of battle, overriding the concerns of his veteran commander, General Kutuzov. With the Allied army closing in, Napoleon ordered his corps to rapidly concentrate on a battlefield he had carefully selected, near the town of Austerlitz. Napoleon oversaw the dispositions of his army late into the night, then grabbed a few hours' sleep beside a campfire. Dawn would mark the first anniversary of his coronation as emperor, and promised a battle that would make or break his young empire.
See, the leaders back then were out on the battlefield, man. My man is sleeping by the fireplace and stuff. The leaders don't do that anymore. They just send poor people out to fight and die.
The morning of the 2nd of December 1805 was cold and bright with a heavy mist. Two armies of near equal size faced each other across a 7-mile-wide battlefield. But the Allies held the high ground of the Pratzen Heights, while French Third Corps under Marshal Davout was still marching to the battlefield. Seeing Napoleon's thinly stretched right flank, the Allies planned a large-scale attack from the Pratzen Heights to steamroller the French right, before swinging round to envelop Napoleon's army.
The Allies are doing that.
Little did they know, Napoleon was counting on his weak right wing luring the Allies into just such a move.
Man,
whereupon he would launch his own attack on the Pratzen Heights to cut the Allied army in half. His bold plan relied on his correct prediction of Allied movements, the speedy arrival of Davout's Third Corps on his right, and a perfectly timed counterattack. The battle began around 7 a.m. as Austrian troops of General Kienmayer's advance guard clashed with French troops defending the village of Telnitz. In the face of overwhelming odds, the French fought stubbornly and bravely, but gradually they were forced back. But the Allies, instead of carrying out their great enveloping attack, did nothing. The morning mist and the late arrival of orders had led to confusion and delay.
Wow.
And it was another hour before the first 3 Allied columns were on the move. Soon, fierce fighting erupted around Sokolnitz village and castle. Marshal Davout's corps, which had just force-marched 70 miles in 2 days, now arrived to strengthen the French right wing. Around 9 a.m., his lead infantry brigade appeared suddenly through the mist and retook Telnitz, before being driven back in turn by Austrian hussars. 2 more of Davout's brigades reinforced French troops at Sokolnitz. As the mist began to clear, Napoleon saw that, as he'd hoped, the Allied left was moving off the Pratzen Heights, and he ordered Marshal Soult's 4th Corps to begin its attack. To the alarm of Allied commanders,
this guy was kind of a
French infantry
war genius, apparently.
until now hidden by the mist, was suddenly seen advancing straight towards the Allied center. General Kutuzov was forced to hurriedly organize a defense of the heights, using troops of 4 column. 2 hours of bloody fighting followed. Musket fire was so rapid and furious that both sides were soon low on ammunition and turned to the bayonet.
That's a tough way to go, man.
By 11 a.m., the French, with the advantage in training and discipline, had secured the heights and driven a deep wedge into the Allied position. To the north, a giant cavalry battle developed. While a Russian force from General Bagration's advance guard captured the village of Bosenitz before it was halted by cannon fire from the Santon Hill. A decisive charge by 6 regiments of French heavy cavalry finally drove back the Allies, allowing Marshal Lannes' 5 Corps to move forward and seize Blasowitz and Krug. Now, Grand Duke Constantine, commanding the Russian Imperial Guard, led forward this last Allied reserve in a desperate bid to reclaim the Pratzen Heights. A battalion of the French 4th Line Regiment was charged down by Russian Guard.
You know, war these days are confusing. War of any kind is confusing. Is it the action or the anticipation of war by those who are going out there to fight, or is it a combination of both? You know what I'm saying? I know I was scared, and I wasn't even in that much, you know what I mean? I pretty much was at home when the jets start bombing stuff, but just the mere confusion in your mind, you know what I mean? And with this, there is just constant noise and attacking for 2 hours straight. At points in the intervention there, it would be quiet, so you think, I could breathe, and then boom, 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 boom. It was crazy. I don't understand how some people would like that. I don't like fighting at all, period. I just don't see the point in it. Nobody really wins per se, and that's my perspective. A lot of people sort of disagree with that. But, you know, I kind of figure if a bunch of people die on one side and a bunch of people die on the other side, nobody wins, because there's family members that are going to be missing those people, parents, you know what I mean, children, uncles, aunts. And you know, it seems there too that they were fighting. Well, I guess they were fighting and going through villages and stuff, but let's keep watching this.
Cavalry, losing its eagle standard in bloody fighting. Napoleon, who'd moved up to the heights, sent in his own guard cavalry. In this grim melee between the elite horsemen of both armies, the French finally prevailed.
Persistence
Napoleon had broken the Allied centre. Now, to close the trap on the Allied left wing, still locked in heavy fighting around Sokolnitz. Around 2 p.m, Napoleon ordered 4 divisions to swing south and cut off their retreat. General Buxhowden, commanding the Allied left, only now saw the danger he was in.
Too late.
Attacked from 3 sides, the only escape was south. Many of his troops were forced to flee across frozen ponds. French artillery opened fire, trying to smash the ice with their cannonballs. About 200 men and dozens of horses drowned in the freezing water.
What a way to go.
But not the many thousands of Napoleon's propaganda. The French Emperor had won a brilliant victory. His army had taken more than 10,000 prisoners and captured 45 enemy standards. Thousands of dead and wounded of all sides littered the battlefield. Many left untended for days. The Battle of the Three Emperors, as it became known, was a crushing blow to the Third Coalition. As Russian forces retreated back to Russia, Francis I of Austria was forced to accept a humiliating settlement with France, agreeing to pay a 40 million franc indemnity and give up more territory in exchange for peace. But meanwhile,
you gotta pay them so they don't
reached Napoleon of a disastrous Franco-Spanish defeat at sea off Cape Trafalgar. British Admiral Lord Nelson, at the cost of his own life, had masterminded a victory so complete that it ensured British naval dominance not just for the rest of the war, but for the next 100 years.
Yep.
Britain, master of the sea. Napoleon,
Unbeatable
unbeatable on
on land.
land. The whale and the elephant, neither able to challenge the other in its own domain. When William Pitt received news of Napoleon's victory at Austerlitz, he's supposed to have said, "Roll up that map of Europe. It will not be wanted these 10 years." A month later, Pitt was dead. But his warning that Europe faced another 10 years of war and upheaval was to prove prophetic. Napoleon Bonaparte was the ultimate disruptor of European history. One man who transformed a continent. If you want to find out more, why not try a free trial with the Great Courses Plus?
Wow. Can you imagine the confusion? I mean, because it seems like it's on a bigger scale than there is now. There's so much technology now that there's mainly machines doing a lot of it and computers and stuff. But you throw in 72,000 men on each side, 75,000, round it out a bit, and that's a lot of humans. And wherever there's humans, there's confusion. I don't care how much you plan or how much is going on. When you're down there in the battle, that's something else, But my man was a mastermind and he did it. But I'm enjoying this Napoleon thing already. I hope you guys are enjoying it too, man, And thank you guys for watching this with me. I'll leave the link in the description there so you guys go click on it and watch it through without me babbling. You know what I mean? Thanks for all the suggestions and stuff. Just keep it coming. You feel high, brother? But don't stop watching though. In the bottom here, yeah, you're gonna see some boxes there. Click on that. Go check it out. And then I think it's on the right on the left side. There's gonna be another thing popping up there. It's gonna have the playlist in there. You can go click and just watch it. I have to reorganize my playlist because I want you guys to see all of Alexander, all of Napoleon, all of the collapse of the Bronze Age. I want to put that all in separate lists so that you guys can just go there and binge watch it. You go to YouTube and Simmer. Anyway, man, you guys take care of each other, all right? Try to enjoy the moments before life passes you by, all right? Cool runnings.